Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more esports news. A great debate today and a bit of a controversial story out there published by The Guardian just yesterday, surfacing all around the esports scene. If any of you guys did see one of your favorite creators talking about this, it's actually an article published by The Guardian entitled on screen for all of you guys. Not one of World Cup's 100 finalists was a woman. Why? It was a great controversial piece, and I think it's given a bit of backlash, even though it was a pretty informative article. I'm going to break it down for all of you guys, what I did like, what I didn't like, and exactly try to answer the question, why were none of our finalists for World Cup actually females? And he starts out the article by stating the obvious, right? A brief recap of this past weekend, that being the Fortnite World Cup. Of our 100 finalists, although I will say across solos and duos, there were well over 100 finalists there at the World Cup event, and none of those were also females. So the title, I would say, is a bit misleading. I don't know if he knew about that or if he was just talking about the solo event or just talking about the duos event. I'm really not sure there. So there were well over 100 guys there, and I feel weird even saying it, phrasing it just like that. There were over 100 finalists, and none of them were also women, despite the fact he does state, based off a research study, of 46% of gamers being females. Now, we have, or at least some of us have actually seen several studies out there which do cite different numbers. Some numbers, including the 46% one, could include mobile gamers, which a lot of us out there don't really consider to be in the esports, that gaming scene on PC or Xbox or PS4. Mobile is a bit of a different market and tends to, I think, portray a bit more of a larger portion of females out there. With that being said, though, it is a clear disparity, whether it's going to be 10% females out there, 20%, as they state 46% of gamers being female. There is certainly disparity between the number of finalists we did see that were male and female based off the numbers of females that apparently are gamers. But I think the problem starts as to where he attributes this lack of females in the World Cup or other esports events, where he thinks it does come from, as he does cite harassment or a hardcore gaming culture, which is not very suitable for a lot of women out there, which I'm not going to completely deny, but I'm not going to attribute the fact that even if there are 46% of gamers, that's why there were none at the Fortnite World Cup. I don't think that is the answer, although I do agree there's a huge disparity between why there are no males at an event like Fortnite World Cup. I don't think harassment alongside this hardcore gaming culture are the primary reasons, and I'm not going to deny the fact that the stories he does mention, both of which we actually mentioned here on the channel. One was actually with 15-year-old Boshi. If you guys do not know, a female in the fighting game scene, actually beat one of the former best male pros in the game itself, that being Smash Bros. She beat him, I think it was about a month and a half ago or quite some time ago back this summer, and she received countless backlash from the community for being a female and taking down one of their top pro players at an off-LAN event somewhere else. Now, also they talk about Lunar Cat. She's actually a streamer in the CS scene. She was berated heavily by two of her teammates. They were asking her for sexual favors. I played it and actually had the clip here on the channel as well. It was a terrible, terrible story. And what was their punishment? The two male players who, belittled her and of course did harass her several times throughout the entire game. Their punishment was a 2-day ban. It's no denying, guys. We all know that girls in this scene are harassed. They face endless backlash, but is that the primary reason as to why we don't see a lot of pro gamers that are females at the top level? I'm just not sure about that. And then he cites another study, I think makes some factual points. I'm not denying this study. It actually makes the point of female gamers are more frequently leaving the gaming or esports scene than male gamers, actually 1.5 to 2 times as frequently, by citing many reasons out there, the reasons of which were fewer opportunities, safety issues, social stigmas, and a lack of positive role models. I'm not going to deny any of this. I think the main point of the article, though, was to answer the question of why there are no females at the World Cup playing as finalists, and we're almost slowly getting there. I think the biggest part and issue I had with the entire article is when the writer himself does state these words, which were pretty crazy. As he says, unlike in traditional sports, there are no physical differences at play to justify gender segregation, which I took this in the saying that he has now listed the many reasons why female gamers are leaving the scene more frequently than males. Of course, they also face harassment and backlash, which I'm not denying. And so for me, it looks like in this article, he is trying to attribute all of those social stigmas and fewer opportunities and the harassment that females get as the main reason why we do not see females at the top level of esports and at our Fortnite World Cup, which I don't think is necessarily all of the cause, especially when he just stated, as I read for you guys, that there are no physical differences between men and women, unlike in traditional sports. I've never heard a statement, and it's not in quite some time, that I disagree with more. I just think it's a bit of an unfair statement to make, especially with all the research studies which do deny those facts. And again, at this point in time, it comes down to who do you believe and which research studies do you take for their word, and who's actually writing this. Can we really confirm that nowadays? And I'm not trying to belittle women. I actually think it's all the more impressive because I do believe there are distinct differences between males and females in traditional sports as well as in esports. It's all the more impressive when we see females rise to the occasion and break that barrier between males and females, whether it's in sports or whether it's in esports. It does not matter. It's all the more impressive to me because there are distinct differences. After a 30-second Google search, and again, take these research studies with a grain of salt. I can go deeper if you guys want me to. The first of which compared medical students, both males and females, and their reaction times to both auditory or audio and visual stimuli. Just like in video games, you react to what you see and what you hear. And what did they find in this study? Males did better in both of those cues. In both stimuli for visual and auditory stimuli, they reacted faster in both those situations. On top of that, a separate study I did find was actually more on the physical side of your muscle reflexes. As you guys know, we don't use too many muscles as gamers, but we do use a little bit of our reflexes slash hand-eye coordination. And in the same study for reflexes for most muscle groups, they also conducted that study comparing males and females. And yes, males came out with better reflex times. But it's just my opinion. It's just my thought. You know, maybe you guys can fact check for yourselves if you want to look at your own research study to see what you believe about that. My opinion is yes, there are clear, distinct differences between men and women, whether it is traditional sports or whether it is esports. And that is why, if we're trying to answer the question, why were, of all the finalists for World Cup this past weekend in Fortnite or most gaming events out there, why are there so few women? I would say because there are clear and distinct physical differences and other differences between men and women. And so seeing a female succeed in top level of esports is going to be much more of a rarity. And that would be my final answer for all of you. I'm not denying the fact that yes, they do face insane amount of backlash, insane scrutiny as they do rise to the ranks. A lot of women we've talked about here on the channel have faced that, and that can be very deterring. So that's got to play a role in it. But is that everything as to why we don't see females at the very top level of esports? Certainly not. So I think all in all, it was still a very informative article. Of course, we're talking about it. People out there are now talking more about the issue. So I think it's a great thing to be talking about in general. And as always, you guys can leave your thoughts down below for me to read through and for hopefully all of us to gain some more knowledge on the topic about why were there no females at the World Cup finals for Fortnite. You guys can answer down below. As always, my name is Jake. I hope you guys all enjoy. I'll see you back here tomorrow breaking down esports news. Until then, take care. I'll see you soon.